Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to talk about the notorious Venezuelan gangs that took over Denver and several other states that the Democrats swear never happened. They swear it never happened, yet Newsweek has it from October of 2024. I could find column after column after column during Biden's administration where they say Tren de Aragua has taken over Denver, Colorado. Their police and ICE and their intel people from DHS all confirm, ICE, everybody confirms that they made Denver, Colorado their headquarters, and they were running stuff out of that state because of their sanctuary cities. I added the intel from HSI that Sergeant, I'm not even going to receive today. I also spoke with an ICE agent today who reached out to his intel guy. The guy got back rather quickly, stated that TDA has decided to make Denver their headquarters due to its sanctuary policies and location, and excerpt from the leaked email read. In other words, Tren de Aragua, or however you pronounce it, has taken over our country since Biden opened up the borders, let all these people come in. Democrats for years said that's not true. And we don't have drug cartels taking over our country, taking over cities. Yet there's video after video after video of armed thugs breaking into apartments, threatening people's lives, taking over whole apartment complexes, extorting money, robbing people. And yet the Democrats want you to believe that this is not an issue. We don't have Venezuelan gang members in our country. They have not taken over sanctuary cities like Denver, Colorado, Los Angeles, New York City, because of their Chicago, because of their sanctuary policies. No, they're not. They don't have headquarters in our states because we have sanctuary policies that protect their anonymity and allow them to do brutal crimes. No, we don't have it. We had shootings between cartel members on our streets in Chicago. Fully automatic weapons, open fire on crowds. But the Democrats say there's nothing to see here. Nothing to see. Just don't look over there. It's not that big. It's just that city. It's just that apartment complex. While Americans are dying from gun violence, from overdoses, from whatever, being extorted out of their little bit of financial funds that they have, not that big of a deal. Just whole apartment complexes being taken over by these thugs. And the Democrats say it's a constitutional crisis. And judges, federal judges, trying to assert their authority over the head of our government, our president. And they don't have that right. That is a constitutional crisis. When the judicial branch supersedes their authority over the executive branch, that is the constitutional crisis, because they've overstepped their bounds. He is put in for foreign policy. He's the head of our foreign policy, not our federal judges. They don't make up foreign policies. Our president does. our Secretary of State does. So if our Secretary of State says, this is what we're doing, our judicial branch has no right to get involved because they don't set the precedents of what our Secretary of State does when it comes to external policies that run our government, a matter of national security. Our judicial branch is not supposed to get involved in national security threats. That's not their place. So, forgive me if I say these bureaucrats that Obama and all of them have put into the robes, bless them with that honor, for them to take that robe and throw it across the desk of the presidency and say, my authority supersedes your authority, which it does not, according to our Constitution. Our president is the end-all be-all when it comes to national security, when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to anything. He is the end-all be-all. Everybody answers to him because he was duly elected by the people, not a bureaucrat. So, no, these judges are getting way out of line, and that is the constitutional crisis, not what Trump is doing with, see, February 2024. They were already seeing these gangs taking over in our country. We have the sex trade, the drug, everything going on. And our bureaucrats think that they have more authority than the president when they don't. Watch this.
Tren de Aragua, the Sinaloa cartel, and other drug cartels were designated by the United States as global terrorist organizations on Wednesday. That's according to a Federal Register notice issued by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. It said the groups pose a risk to U.S. national security, foreign policy, and economic interests. After he took office, President Donald Trump had issued an executive order to evaluate whether any criminal cartels or transnational gangs should be designated as terrorism groups. Designating a group as a foreign terrorist organization is aimed at disrupting its finances through sanctions. That can include freezing assets and travel bans. However, Andres Sumano, a security expert at El Colegio de la Frontera Norte in Mexico, told Reuters the move has him concerned about the U.S. undermining.
See, the problems with these cartels is Mexico can't control them, not even with their military. Because, let me tell you, those cartels are better armed than most military are. They have fully automatic weapons. They have all kinds of they have a huge arsenal and technology well advanced beyond what Mexico can provide for their soldiers. They've been known to just roll up on a president and killing in plain sight of the full public with security and everything. Just open fire on a whole group of people just to kill one person. They did it at the race. This is all they know how to do. And they kill cruelly. When they kill cruelly. They kill as many as they can. They'll kill 20 people just to get at one. And they have no remorse. They will put freaking tires around you, pour gasoline on you, set you on fire while you're still alive. Chop you up into pieces while you're still alive. They will kill your entire family in the most cruel and heinous way, and then kill you. So yes, they are a terrorist group. All of these cartel members are terrorist groups. And our Secretary of Homeland Security, all of them are the only ones that have the authority to designate a group. Marco Rubio, God, my brain just went into freeze mode. Marco Rubio is the only Secretary of State is the only one that can give that title to any group as a national security threat and a terrorist organization. Homeland Security, in cooperation with Secretary of State, they name them this, and no federal judge has the right or the authority to change that designation. None. Not even the Supreme Court has the right to change that designation, because they don't have the intel or the authority to do so. Yet these state federal judges in these states are acting as though they have the authority to question the federal government who is over them. So here's the View's stupid idea.
Court judges' orders to stop the deportations of alleged Venezuelan gang members to a prison in El Salvador. The White House is using the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to justify the deportations. And here's what border czar Tom Holman has to say about it.
The judge had a written order that said these 5 people can't be removed right now. It wasn't until this flight was already in international waters heading down to El Salvador that the judge made some comment about returning the flights. We're already in international waters. We're outside the borders of the United States. I'm the border czar. Once you're outside the border, you know, it is what it is. Every day, the men and women of ICE are going to be in the neighborhoods of this nation arresting criminal, illegal alien, public safety threats, and national security threats. Lawrence, you're not going to stop us. I don't care what the judges think. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming.
So, is this defying a judge's orders?
You mean like Biden did? But no, it's not defying a judge's order, because the judge didn't have the right to do that order. Once these guys were designated a terrorist group, they no longer fall under the fact that they're here illegally. They're not residents, so they're not entitled to our constitutional rights. They're not entitled to the constitutional rights of natural-born citizens or nationalized citizens. They're not entitled to those rights. They're here illegally. They're not citizens. So our Constitution doesn't go for them. Thomas Jefferson made that clear. And the federal judge does not dictate foreign policy. He doesn't dictate it. He handles matters of the federal government when citizens of the United States bring cases before him. But not when it comes to national security threats. Secretary of the state handles that. No one else does. Homeland Security, they handle that shit. Not a federal judge, because they don't get the intel. They're not privy to the intel that the Secretary of State gets, or the Secretary of Homeland Security, or the Secretary of Defense. They don't have that clearance. They don't have that authority to step in and dictate foreign policy. That's not his right. It's in the Constitution. They have limits on their power, and their power ends where foreign policy begins.
Constitutional crisis? And were these people that they deported already in jail? Or were they people that they picked up? It's part of the problem, I think, for many people is you do stuff and nobody has any idea what's going on, you know? So because
Oh, no, darling. We know exactly, because these people tattoo their gang affiliation all over their body. They're required to tattoo their gang affiliation all over their body. They have specific locations where certain tattoos are required to be there. That's how they're identified, is through their tattoos. These men were identified by their tattoos as cartel members, which, according to the Secretary of State, is a national security threat and must be removed immediately. They have no constitutional rights because they are not citizens of this country. They are not endowed with our constitutional rights just because they crossed the border into our country illegally or were brought in on Biden's secret night flights.
Because you have swept up many people in ICE who had no business being swept up. You swept up people who had no names, who are American citizens, and you don't.
That's a lie. That's a lie. If they have no names, then they're not citizens here. Because we give birth certificates and social security numbers to our citizens so they can be identified as our citizens. Birth certificates and social security numbers. So unless they have a social security number, they are not members of our country and are not endowed with our rights.
Pay attention to that. So people are saying, what is happening? And why are we paying to send the people elsewhere?
My understanding is they were in jail, but there's another question of due process then that comes ahead of a deportation order. I'll say this, I don't think it's at the point of a constitutional crisis. I think he went right up to the line of defying a federal judge's order. And where it gets, and I'll let Sunny speak to this because she's the lawyer here, but where it gets complicated is if the flights were in fact over international waters when this order came down verbally in court. It would be, at that point, it's out of his jurisdiction to turn it around. What I think is this, most Americans we know from the passing of the Laken Riley Act and others generally support deporting people who've committed crimes in this country.
Yeah.
But there is a process to do it, there's a legal way, and you cannot just defy federal judges' orders. But I would note, I think the White House realizes they're on shaky legal ground here because there was a quote today from a White House official. It's very important that people understand we're not actively defying court orders. So they're trying to walk this back a bit to say, oh, no, this wasn't an active, it was kind of a conflict of time.
So I actually do believe that we are in a constitutional crisis now.
Of course you do, because you're so melodramatic and everything is a crisis to you. Everything Donald Trump and his administration does is a crisis to you. Oh my God, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Please, somebody save me, the sky is falling. And you sit up here and lie and bend the spirit of the law to suit your narrative so that you can cry about all the poor me's of illegals who were brought into this country illegally under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's watch and killed American citizens.
Because there are three co-equal branches of government, the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. And what we are seeing is an overreach from the executive branch, from the White House, into the judicial branch.
Right.
No, see, that's where you're wrong. It's the other way around. When it comes to national security, the judicial branch has no authority in foreign policy and national security. The president sets that, not the judicial branch. That's where you're wrong, Sonny. And as a lawyer, you know that. But you are lying as per usual to fit your fucking narrative.
Because what people are sort of failing to realize is, yes, there was an order while the plane was over international waters. But before then, there was what's called a temporary restraining order when that judge said they can't leave the United States without an immigration judge looking at it. And they just did this.
Took it off.
And they just put them on that plane anyway and flew them away.
Yeah.
That is defying a federal court.
No, according to Trump's administration, by the time that order came down in court, verbally, the flights were already in international waters. He had no authority to demand that that plane be turned around and brought back. I'm going to say it again. He has no authority in national security or foreign policy matters. None. None. Absolutely none. When it comes to foreign policy and national security, his word is about as good as mine when it comes to giving orders. It falls on deaf ears because he has no authority. I cannot walk up to the president and say, you're in violation of the court order of giving me $20 million. Now you got to give me 40. It's ridiculous. And I have no authority. Just saying. And you know this.
Judge's order. Yeah. You don't get to do that.
Well,
the last thing I'll say is that the Alien Enemies Act was created to give the president these wide powers during wartime, right? So they are declaring.
They have declared war. He wrote an executive order declaring war on the cartels, which these people are members of. He's declared war by executive action, which is his privilege as the President of the United States. And you know this, but once again, you're bending the law to fit your narrative rather than the truth.
That we are at war. The only time that act has been used, just 3 times, during the War of 1812, the World War I and World War II, and it was used to intern our Japanese American citizens. We should be very concerned that that is what this government is using to deport.
Well, and only
people.
Congress can declare war.
Yeah. Go ahead. First of all, I don't give...
Except when it's a matter of national security. And an executive order is done up. See, the president has certain powers that no other branch has. They are the head of all of our branches of government. There are checks and balances. Congress writes the laws. The Senate refines them and passes them and puts them on the president's desk, and then the president signs them into law. The judicial branch is only there in case the laws that they wrote violate the Constitution. That's it. The executive branch has full authority over the federal government, period. End of sentence. Not the other way around.
Donald Trump and his administration the benefit of the doubt that it was coincidental that this happened. I think it was very deliberate that they wanted this. I think they love the fact that we're talking about this because it means that we're not talking about the tanking markets because of his tariff hokey pokey. I also...
What tanking market? I know it crashed a little bit for a couple of days, but it's booming right now. I know I've made about 30 grand. Just within 3 days. So I'm trying to figure out what the fuck you're talking about, because yes, the stocks fell for like 3 days. Then they started climbing again. Then they fell a little. The stock market is volatile. It always has been. It's tied to our economy. And so far, our economy is kicking. Thanks to the actions of Donald Trump. Can't believe you guys are making me defend this fucking man.
Want to make very clear. Less than 0.09% of the Venezuelans in this country are suspected of being part of Tren de Aragua, which is a horrible gang. No immigrant.
This is where you need to stop. Because the cartel members that they gathered were Tren de Aragua. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been sent over there.
In this country wants a criminal of the level of an MS-13 or a Tren de Aragua here. But it is very ironic because Venezuelans hugely supported Donald Trump. In fact, the area where his golf club is in Miami, Doral, is called Doralzuela. That's where a lot of them live. And since he got elected, he's gone to negotiate with Maduro, legitimizing a man who lost the election. He has removed TPS from hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans. That's temporary protective status, normalizing what's happening in Venezuela as if it's no longer a cruel dictatorship that jails and kills.
They are locking up fucking Tren de Aragua and all the other gang members to make their country safe again because it was untenable. Gangs had taken over the country, and because he built that supermax and locked them all up, his country is now thriving. Tourism has returned back to that country, where tourists were afraid to walk around for fear that they might get mugged or shot in broad daylight. It's not that way anymore. The people love him. The people adore him. He didn't lose the election. He won hands down. His people love him, and prosperity has returned to his country because of his actions. You may not like his actions and you can disagree with his actions, but you cannot deny the turnaround that has happened in that country and how it's thriving now.
Dissidents. He is reportedly about to put Venezuela in a ban list so nobody from Venezuela can travel here. And frankly, every time he opens his mouth about Venezuela, he portrays Venezuelans as if they were members of a gang, as if they were tren de Aragua, when it's less than 600 people that are suspected of being part.
That's a lie. That is an absolute lie. You guys look this stuff up for yourself. Don't believe what these people are saying. I've looked this stuff up. Look up what happened before he was elected and how out of control shit was and how dangerous it was and how people were just being terrorized by these gangs. Look before he got elected how bad things were, how dangerous that country was. And look at it now. The difference is night and day.
100,000
Most
Venezuelans
Venezuelans are great people, good, hardworking people who want to live in.
Yes, they are. But to deny the fact that they have a problem with gangs and cartels is sticking your head in the sand and making up make-believe la-la lands. That country was going down the toilet. That country was unsafe, untenable. People were afraid. Now it's safe. People are thriving. Their economy is booming. They're doing well. And the people love him.
Freedom are contributing.
Except for the families of the gang members that are locked up. They don't love him because their children and stuff are locked up in the prison. But the people, the people who just want to live their lives like us, they love this man.
Contributing to our country, are contributing to our society. A lot of them are my friends, are my neighbors. They live in Miami, and what he is doing to Venezuelans is disgusting. But you know what? You voted for that. You're finding out.
I feel the same way you do, Whoopi. It's the transparency. Because if they were to release who these people were, what they did, and that it was confirmed they are part of this gang, I think anyone would get on board. It's the fact that they keep hiding it and making mistakes that makes me weary.
Yeah, and you just got to keep your eyes open, y'all. Because if they can just come up and take somebody because they've made a decision that you're supposed to be that person, any one of us could find ourselves being deported.
No, sorry. That's a lie. That's an absolute lie. Birth certificates, social security cards, fingerprints. We're all in the system in one form or another, whether it comes down to our driver's license or our social security numbers. We are all in the system. Our fingerprints are all in the system. So that's a lie.
to some country.
Don't give
We've
him
never
any
been
ideas,
there.
girl.
Well, listen, it is very clear to me that if we don't continue to say, listen, I understand you want to clean out all the bad stuff. I get it. But why do you now have access to my personal information? I get what the things you're trying to do. I don't understand why you're taking my stuff.
They're not taking your personal information. They can't copy files. Stop lying. They cannot copy any information they find. All they can do is identify it, give it to Trump, and make him fix it. Stop lying.
Not my personally, but each and every one of you.
And your constitutional
And
rights
your
of free speech.
constitutional rights of free speech, which, everybody says, you never let us say anything. We're, conservatives. And in fact, you're doing the same thing you are accusing everyone else of.
No, we're not. Say what you gotta say. You say whatever stupid shit falls out of your mouth, whether it's a lie or not. And you spend most of your time on this show talking about shit you have no idea about. You don't actually investigate anything. You don't actually look it up for yourself. You go off of assumptions and conjecture, go on the air and spill the stupid all over the airways, and people are calling you out for it, but you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear how ignorant you sound when you get up there and start talking about political issues you know nothing about. You don't research none of it. You don't investigate none of it. You just get up there and spill emotion instead of logic.
And you're doing it in a way we've never seen before, because very few people have kept you from speaking out. But this is where we are now. Well, we're right here now. And you see, I beat the music. I beat the music. Last week's Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer insisted he was voting against the Republican spending bill, but he had a last minute.
Okay, I'm done with the View because their stupidity is just astronomical. But I implore everybody, don't take me at my word. Please don't take me at my word. Investigate it yourself. Sometimes you might have to go through, like when I was researching I had to go to 3 different pages before I found this Newsweek article, or the beginning of where they're talking about this gang group, tren de aragua, that took over Denver back in October. I had to go through 3 different pages, or 3, you know what I mean, in order to find something that talked about it while Biden was president. So you can look this stuff up for yourself. You can look on the FBI files, or the FBI webpage, the DHS webpage, Homeland Security. You can research this yourself and find the information for yourself and see what's really going on. Don't take me at my word, please. But you can look this up for yourself. You don't believe what I say about foreign policy and that federal judges cannot get involved or inject themselves into foreign policy? Look it up for yourself. Harvard Law, all kinds of constitutional law places, you can find it yourself. There is limitations on the federal bureaucracy except for the presidential, because he's the head of it all. So I beg you, please, if you hear some stupid stuff like this and you're like, that can't be right, but it's coming out of somebody you think you can trust, look it up for yourself. Because 9 times out of 10, these mainstream liberal media and these people like Whoopi and them, 9 times out of 10, they're lying straight to your face. And believe me, I don't, it's only been the last 4 years or 8 years that I've gotten really deep into politics and learning what each branch does and where their limitations are. It's only been the last 8 years that I've been educating myself on this stuff. So educate yourself and find out the truth. Okay? Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you tomorrow.